بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. خطبة الكتاب.
بدأت ببسم الله في النظم أولا تبارك رحمانا رحيما وموئلا، وثنيت صلى الله ربي على الرضا محمد المهدى إلى الناس مرسلا، وعتراته ثم الصحابة ثم من تلاهم على الإحسان بالخير وبلا، وثلثت أن الحمد لله دائما وما ليس مبدوءا به أجذام العلا، وبعد فحبل الله فينا كتابه، فجاهد به حبل العدا متحبلا، وأخلق به إذ ليس يخلق جدة جديدا مواليه على الجد مقبلا، وقارئوه المرضي قرى مثاله كالتروج.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Viewers, you are highly welcome to another edition of Wasabih Talk Series. Today we are very privileged and honored to be having a very important discussion with our brother here, Abdul-Hamid Abdul-Wahab. This is going to be a very insightful session and a talk that really will throw more light on Islamic finance and how it can be a catalyst for development in Africa. So before I introduce my guest, let me tell you a little bit about who I will be speaking with. His name is Abdul-Hamid Abdul-Wahab. He earned his bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees from the Faculty of Islamic and Management Sciences at the International Islamic University, Malaysia, with a specialization in the area of Islamic banking and finance. He taught managerial finance, Islamic finance, and leadership and management, as well as tahfiz in the same university. While in the International Islamic University, Malaysia, Abdul-Hamid also served as administrative assistant at the Office of Deputy Rector for 6 years. He has published a number of research papers in reputable journals in the area of Islamic finance as well as bank efficiency. In the Islamic services industry, Abdul-Hamid also worked as a research fellow for 2 years at the Islamic Financial Services Board in Malaysia before joining Swift Support Services Malaysia as well, where he worked for about a year. He is currently a part-time lecturer at the International Islamic University Malaysia and also on a project under the sponsorship of the Islamic Development Bank concerning SDGs, Islamic banks, and economic growth. Audience, help me welcome my guests to this very important session, Dr. Abdul-Hamid Abdul-Wahab. Assalamu alaikum. You are welcome to our noble platform.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Brother Awal, for the generous introduction. Alhamdulillah, it's been a pleasure to join you today to talk about a topic that is very dear to my heart concerning development in Africa and the role that Islamic finance could play in this regard. So it's a pleasure to be here today in this Wasabih platform. Thank you so much.
Great. It's always our pleasure to have very distinguished guests like you to discuss and share with our brothers and sisters around the world. Wasabih chat shows really represent a place where professionals really come on board to discuss and share what they are really passionate about. And know you whom you are, we know you are very passionate about the development of Africa, especially when it comes to the role Islamic finance can play. So without much delay, let's deep dive into our topic today. So we are talking of Islamic finance and its role in facilitating the development of Africa. So before that, can you let us understand what Islamic finance is? How is it different from other form of finance?
All right, thank you so much, Brother Awal. So first of all, to understand Islamic finance, we need to first understand finance itself as a concept. So in simple terms, finance is about managing money. It is the science and art of managing money. So the process of finance involves channeling funds from those entities that have enough to save, or investors who are willing to invest their funds, and then channeling these funds to those entities that need them most for entrepreneurship purposes. So, having understood this, in the conventional sense, finance may not necessarily have any specific code of conduct to ensure that this process of channeling funds from those who have extra or surplus to those who need them for financial purposes may not have any specific code of conduct to guide, to ensure that these financial activities are just and fair, and are not against those who are already poor. So in conventional sense, we can see that the financial system makes the rich more richer and the poor people becomes more poorer. All right, so Islamic finance came as an alternative. The modern system of Islamic finance that we know today came as an alternative in the 1970s to support those who are willing or looking out for ethical investment channels. So Islamic finance, in short, is financial activities that are in compliance with the rules of Islamic law, meaning they take into consideration, Islamic principles to ensure that financial activities are just, fair, and do not, lead to rich people becoming more richer and the poor becoming more poor, especially what we see in Africa today. Yeah. So in short, Islamic finance. This is what Islamic finance is about.
Wow, such a
Yeah.
very clear explanation of what Islamic finance is about. So it's not just about any finance, it's also a way to transfer this wealth from those who have extra to
Extra.
those who do
Yes.
not have, and in a way that is beneficial for both parties. It is not just the one
Yes.
side. We see those who have, they channel their finances in a way that the poor, the underprivileged, continues to
To
suffer
become
and wait
poor.
for the
Yes.
rich. Wow,
Yes. 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 Yes.
such
Right.
a noble way of doing business and ensuring equitable distribution of wealth
Well.
in our society. But let me ask you, just like the name, Islamic finance, Africa has a majority population who are not Muslims. So when we are talking of Islamic finance, does the non-Muslim out there who is careless about Sharia or whatever halal compliance, do they really benefit from Islamic finance?
All right. Okay. So when you look at Islamic finance, as I said, you know, it's not specifically for one group of people, it's for whole humanity. So whether somebody is a Muslim or a non-Muslim, they can still benefit from Islamic finance. So I give you a few instances of how Islamic finance, benefits all. So if you look at the UK, for instance, they have majority non-Muslim, right?
Yeah.
But the Bank of England is one of the few banks in the world that you will see they are so active when it comes to Islamic finance, because they see the benefit is not just for Muslims, but for all. So for humanity as a whole. So let's take, for instance, the case of Malaysia. You know, Hong Leong Islamic Bank, this is an Islamic bank, but majority of the shareholders, more than 50% of the shareholders in Hong Leong Islamic Bank, they are not Muslims. Wow. They are not Muslims. So that shows that it's for, you know, this system, it's for anyone who is looking out for, you know, ethical means of finance, you know, ethical means of investment, and those who are looking for ethical way of conducting their financial transactions, so that it's fair to all, and, you know, lead to the progress and development of the economy as a whole. So, for instance, if let's say we have developed, we use Islamic finance to create something like a road, for road construction. The road is for everyone, so it doesn't matter whether you are a Muslim or a non-Muslim. So this shows that everybody can actually benefit from Islamic finance. And at the same time, a non-Muslim can walk into an Islamic bank and, you know, embark on any transaction, just like a Muslim. So it doesn't matter whether you belong to a particular religion or that religion. It's open to all, and it's for everyone to invest in. Yeah, thank you so much.
Interesting. So it is Islamic finance. The target audience is not only Muslims, but it cuts across. This is really amazing. So it is not just for the Muslim society, it is for humanity. It is for the promotion of ethical business interaction between the poor and the rich in the society, and also as a catalyst for development of nations. I thought Islamic finance was just to benefit the Muslims or the halal economy. But if it is positioned to develop the countries across the world as a whole, then it is something we have to take closer look and to explore how we can tap this kind of opportunity. So let's look at one thing. Now, can you help us to deep dive into what are the practical ways that Islamic finance can influence the development of Africa? How can we tap into this huge potential to make sure that Africa develops?
All right. So if you look at Islamic finance, there are so many channels through which Islamic finance can actually aid or contribute to the development of the African economy. So there are so many means through which this can be done. It could be in the form of agriculture finance, for instance, in the form of you know, infrastructure. We have, you know, huge infrastructure gap in Africa. So Islamic finance could be a means through which we could bridge this infrastructure gap. And also we have Islamic non-bank financial avenues, such as zakat, you know, sadaqah, you know, waqf. All these are channels through which, you know, Islamic finance can actually contribute to the development of an economy. So, for instance, if we want to look at the agricultural sector, for instance, in Africa, because this is one of the areas where Africa can really, you know, contribute a lot. Yeah. Because we have vast agricultural land in Africa, you see. So, and here is the case: we have these farmers who are, you know, subsistence farmers. They just farm to survive. Most of them don't really do it as a business. So, and they are scattered everywhere. So, through Islamic finance avenues, all these farmers, for instance, could be brought together through Islamic microfinance scheme. So if, let's say, to finance this kind of activity, for example, an Islamic microfinance institution can bring all this group of smallholder farmers together. For example, the small scale farmers, they will bring them together because this microfinance institution has the skills and the knowledge required to seek for funding from a big institution like a bank. Those smallholder farmers, if they go to a bank for, you know, funding, they can get. So it's a challenge for them. So they wouldn't be able to progress with their situation. So, but with an Islamic microfinance institution, it can seek for funding from a bank because they have the skills, they have all the necessary things to prove to the bank that they can, deliver. So this microfinance institution will then work with the smallholder farmers, give them the needed support they need in terms of tools, in terms of this, even the skills they need, and the funding they need for their farm, and sometimes even the market
Wow.
to to sell their products when the products are ready. So the funding that the smallholder farmers get from the bank, from the microfinance institution, can be in the form of what we call Kard Hassan, interest-free loan.
Wow.
In conventional sense, the loan will be given to them, and at the end of it, paying back this loan is going to even make their situation worse.
Yeah.
But these interest-free loan schemes will be a good opportunity for them to be able to improve their situation. All right. So, as an example, these smallholder farmers will take the loans from the bank, do the farming, and then pay back gradually until they cover everything that they have borrowed without paying extra interest.
Yeah.
This is just one form through which they can do it. And in addition to that, this microfinance institution will guide the farmers how to increase their yield, how to market their products that they are producing, and then sell them for a higher profit. This is one aspect where, through agriculture, we can really use Islamic finance. Another,
Wow.
channel through which we can do this, we can use something called crowd farming. Crowd farming is a situation where, we have these smallholder farmers, and they have the land and they have the skills to farm, but maybe they don't have the capital to be able to invest to, yield more. So these smallholder farmers, a crowdfunding platform can assist them. So those people in the city who have the money and they don't have time to do farming, but they have the money. So these people will have the opportunity to invest this amount that they have in the crowdfunding platform. They can choose a project they like. For example, in the crowdfunding platform, you can choose different, type of product that you wish to invest in. For example, you want something that involves fruits, you choose the project in the crowdfunding platform and you invest in that one. Or you like something that involves grains, so you choose that project, then you invest your money. So with this, you are able to pool funding from various sources, even from people outside the country where you operate. Then with all this funding from different individuals, you can be able to support these smallholder farmers. Then they will get the needed capital to invest in their farming. And then once they produce, then the supply and the products are sold, the profit goes to those investors.
Wow.
This is how it goes. So in this kind of channel, for example, you don't have the time to do farming, but you just have your money to help the farmers. So it creates job. It creates job, and take these people, these smallholder farmers, from their situation, their current situation, to a better one. So instead of just subsistence farming, they make it a business.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So this is another channel through which through agriculture, Islamic finance can really aid development in Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, this is really, really very educative. And I mean, we are learning something that is not the conventional way of financing entrepreneurship or specifically farming. Let's stay within this agriculture, because this is a huge area that we have the land and we have the resources that can really push our people, create more jobs, create more wealth, and also facilitate the growth of the economy. Yet we don't see this. So let's look at the Islamic microfinance financing this. So when they come on board and they sponsor these people, they kind of train them as well to do the farming. At the end of the day, so they pay the money back to the microfinance with no interest. But how will the microfinance really make profit, or they are not for profit purposes, or what is it like? How do they run a sustainable business?
All right. Okay. So usually these microfinance institutions, when they help the smallholder farmers and they pay back this through Kart Hassan interest-free financing, you know, they are able to sustain themselves through those funding they get from the multinational institutions, like, for example, IDB.
Yeah.
Because most of these microfinance projects that are financed by the microfinance institutions, they are actually sometimes getting their support from big institutions like the African Development Bank, or, for example, the Islamic Development Bank, for instance. And they also do have other channels of investment where they earn, some returns. So it's not only the Kart Hassan kind of investment that they usually will do. They also may use other forms of investment like Mudaraba. So this Mudaraba, in that kind of investment, the entrepreneur and the one providing these funds, the microfinance institution, they are like a form of partnership.
Yeah.
All right. So when the profit is made, they will share this profit. But when there is a loss, and the loss is not due to negligence of the entrepreneur, then the microfinance institution will bear the loss. If it is not due to negligence of the entrepreneur, the farmer, in this case. So usually they have many channels through which they can make profit. Not only the Kart Hassan, but Kart Hassan is one of the ways through they can help those who are really in need and do not have much needed support. Because we know most of these SMEs, the challenge for them is to get the funding for their business.
Yeah.
So these smallholder farmers fall in that category. So the concept of Islamic finance here is to help these people genuinely to be able to take them out from their current situation to a better situation.
Wow.
So yeah, so in your question, so like I said, when, let's say, for example, Islamic Development Bank give support to a microfinance institution, that support is what will sustain the microfinance institution, and they will have an allocation of what they will use to manage their institution, and at the same time to be able to cater to those that they sponsor, the small holder farmers. Yeah, thank you so much.
Interesting. As a young entrepreneur in Africa, I know what going for a bank loan means. At the end of the day, the loan makes you worse than ever before.
Yes.
You pay interest and you pay interest and you pay interest. At the end of the day, you may have to just lock up your company and walk away. This is, and if we have all this potential we can explore, then it is worth exploring, and it is worth looking at partnership. I give you an example of my business trip to Ethiopia. I saw these farmers farming black seed all over. They have huge potential to supply the entire world with black seed, but there is no support. I mean, we don't have any system of support for these individuals to really benefit from whatever they do. At the end of the day, they approach the traditional banks and they make their business, doing business expensive, more expensive. So I want you to throw more light to potential investors out there who might be interested in Africa. What are some of the areas that, just like I mentioned the black seed from Ethiopia, what are some of the areas that we can be looking at to explore in order to grow the business and more beneficial to both the investor and the entrepreneur?
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, okay. So, if you look at Africa as a continent,
Yeah.
each and every one of those countries in Africa here, we have a lot to offer to the world.
Mm.
You talk about anything in terms of grains, we have in Ghana, for instance, we can produce a lot. In Sudan, in most of the African countries, we can produce the needed grains, in fact, to support the whole world. You
Mm.
see? And this is just one aspect. But, do we have any African country that is supplying grains? We don't really have. Even sometimes the domestic, demand, outweighs the supply.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge we have. So that's one area where investors could come in
Mm.
terms of
Mm.
grains. You name it, maize, rice, corn, millet. In fact, we have even exceptional one that can only be found in Africa. We call it fonio.
Wow.
Our listeners out there can actually try to do more research on what fonio is and what it can actually do. In fact, fonio is one of the grains that can actually take the whole world out of hunger because it's a very rich
Interesting.
grain, very rich grain, very proteinous, and so rich that if this kind of grain was known and produced in large scale, it will really support the whole world. But unfortunately, fonio is just known even in Ghana. Here is only some few places you can find it. In fact, I
Mm.
never knew about fonio until when I left Ghana and I was outside, and I heard about fonio. And when I came back, I was asking, where can I really find this thing? It's an ancient grain which is only found, in Senegal and few places in Ghana.
Mm. Mm.
So as
Mm.
I'm telling you, I had to, try to go to a far village to get some of the grains.
Wow.
And this
Wow.
grain, let me just let you know how important it is. A man came from the US when he heard about this fonio.
Okay.
So he went to the village where they farm it. So he tested the grains and took some of the sample to the US. When it was
Mm.
tested, they realized that this is an exceptional food that the world do not even have information about. So he
Wow.
just moved from the US and settled in that village, producing this fonio, packaging it, and sending it out to the US. You see?
Wow.
So
Wow.
such an important
Wow.
grain. But you see, when you come to Ghana, we don't have it. People don't farm it on large scale. It's just smallholder farmers who produce fonio.
Yeah.
So this is an area where we call investors who are really willing to invest to come. Especially Islamic finance
Mm.
institutions. We can
Yeah.
use a kind of Islamic finance contract called salam. In
Wow.
salam contract, what happens is that the farmers will be paid in advance. You give them the money in advance for them to
Mhm.
buy whatever the tools and then the products and preparing the land and everything they need to farm. But your produce will be delivered later on after the harvest.
Okay.
So you agree with the farmer. For example, the investors will agree with the farmers in terms of the quality of the product that they need, and then the quantity, everything, all specifications about the product will be, clearly taken note of in the contract. Then
Mm.
this farmer have funds to do the farming and then deliver during the harvesting season. You see?
Wow.
So in this case, the farmer is able to get the capital he needs to do the farming.
Yeah.
All right. And at the end of the day, the institution that is involved in the financing, whether individuals or, for example, a microfinance institution that is using this kind of contract, or
Mm.
let's say a crowd farming platform that is using this kind of contract, they can then gather all these products and also market it. So they can even have an arranged market for the products. So once the farmers deliver the products, then they will deliver to those needing the products.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this kind of arrangement could be between, for example, uh, hotels or any food processing companies that might need the product raw materials for their products.
Mm. Yeah.
So you take it directly from the farmers during the harvesting season, then you give to those people needing it for their production. So
Yeah.
it creates a supply chain process that is more efficient and really helps the farmers in terms of meeting, the funding challenges that they have. So this is just one aspect. Another area could be in terms of fruits, for example.
Yeah.
Whether mango production or oranges or whatever. In Africa, we have some of the best fruits you can ever think of. We have tasted fruits from different parts of the world. But you come to Africa and taste the fruits, you feel the natural taste. And I can tell you the best fruits you can think of. Any fruits, just taste it and you can feel the difference. So you see, this is an area where we need investors.
Yeah.
The fruits are there during the harvesting season, and in fact, they rot.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any value addition. We produce them a lot during the harvesting season, and we don't have proper warehousing, nothing to take good care of the products, and at the end, it's a waste. So this is another challenge we are facing in the world. Food wastage, how do we reduce it?
Yeah.
So we invite, investors to come and, take consideration of some of these areas.
Yeah.
There are so many areas. We have the livestock,
Yeah.
in terms of livestock production. This is another interesting area. We have the poultry. So all these are untapped areas in Africa where investors are needed badly to, push forward the agenda of ending world hunger.
Interesting insight. Interesting insight. Well, we have all this huge potential out there, yet it is untapped. So
seriously untapped.
This is something we have to invite investors, especially in the Islamic finance, because I interacted with the farmers for a very long time when I was running a company that dealt with agro-processing products. And these farmers kept on farming year on year on, yet they remain in poverty because the system of finance is very, very extorted. When they go out to do, there are a few companies who say, okay, you don't have money to plow, I'm going to plow for you. By the end of the day, the guy is saying for 1 acre, bring 2 bags of maize, bring 2 bags of millet. That investor is exploiting and taking away the profit of these guys. So they remain poor. In fact, the larger farming communities in Ghana, we know, and in Africa, when you move there, you see poverty, you feel poverty. And these are people who really go to farm and at the end of the day, supply to those who really do in business. So this is a model of finance that we can explore to remove our people from this kind of abject poverty to standard way of living and to supplying quality food products to the world. So we have very much positioned, and thankfully you have thrown more light into this area. We also have the area of vegetable oil. I want you to touch a bit about it to see this is organic, pure vegetable oil that we can really supply to the world.
All right, thank you so much. That's another interesting area you touched on. In fact, the vegetable oil, especially now we are, people are health conscious. So we are all looking for alternative source of oil that is more safer, for consumption, as compared to those that will lead to diabetes and other things. So you see, some of these vegetable oils in Africa, we have them growing, vegetables growing naturally that can actually produce good quality oil. I'll give you an example. For instance, sesame. Sesame actually in Africa, particularly I know of the case of Ghana, it grows naturally just like grass. If you need it in more, in large scale, you can take good care of it and cultivate it more, then you can get even more yield. So this is an area which is untapped. We have the sesame, and we just consume it. We use it in our daily meals, but it's not really well exploited. So the oil from sesame is actually very good for health. But you see, here in Ghana, for instance, we don't really produce it. So this is another area that we can explore in production of vegetable oil. Apart from sesame oil, we have so many kinds of things that we can use for the production of healthy oil, like the soybean oil is there.
Yeah.
We have the sunflower. All these ones are very good, oils for health. So this is another area we can, really explore if we have investors. In fact, the investors who are wondering, if let's say now they are ready to invest, what is the channel through which they can do it? They can actually contact Wasabih, and we can link them up with some of the few Islamic microfinance institutions we have in Ghana. We know of one currently, and in fact, they won award from the IDB in 2010.
Wow.
You see, so this microfinance institution actually work with different groups of people, not just farmers, but also women and various kinds of people. All right. So this is an area where they can come and invest in terms of producing the vegetable oil, in terms of many other things that are needed. And we have them in abundance in Africa that are being wasted without being properly utilized. So I think it's another place, another area like using the sesame oil, or for example, soybean oil, and so many other types of products that can be used for this oil production to supply to the world. So investors who are willing, they are welcome on board to tap into all these avenues for development in Africa and the world as a whole.
Yeah, thank you so much for throwing this light into all this potential, because this is an area we have investors around the world who has the money, but we have the land and resources, both the human resource and the land, wherever our land supports the growth of all these cereals, all these vegetables, and we keep on saying that there's poverty. There's poverty because our huge potentials is lying. We are sleeping on it. So, but the model of finance that is out there is not favorable to the poor. The poor kept on working and working, and they remain in poverty forever. And whilst the rich keeps on cultivating from the sweat of these people, and they are making more wealth every day. But if we use Islamic finance and these beautiful concepts and contracts that we can apply or implement to make sure that both parties, the investor and the farmer or the entrepreneur, really makes good use of it, then it is welcome. And this is what Wasabih is promoting. We need to invest in areas where it can build the halal economy. It can prove to the world that the Islamic finance, the halal industry, has rules, regulations that are beneficial to all mankind and not just Muslims. And if people are keeping their wealth and they don't invest in this, it means that there is no opportunity for the world to really look at what is beneficial. So it's about time we explore. Let's shift a bit from agriculture and throw more light on infrastructure development. How can potential investors within the Islamic finance explore the potential of Islamic finance across infrastructure development across Africa? How can they partner to realize this potential?
All right, thank you so much. So in terms of infrastructure, Islamic finance also have channels through which investment can be done. So these channels can be based on the various Islamic finance contracts and packaged in the form of what we call sukuk. Sukuk is an investment that looks something like a bond in the conventional sense. So, but in the case of this sukuk, all those who invest in the sukuk will have the certificates which they can actually sell, and when they trade the certificates or they hold the certificates till maturity, they get the return from the sukuk investment. So it has happened in many different parts of the world. Even in some countries within the African context, they have issued sukuk. For instance, in Nigeria and Ethiopia, many different places they have used sukuk. We know of many cases in Saudi Arabia, in Malaysia. A lot have been done in this area. So when you come to our African context, in fact, we are in dear need of infrastructure. You look at our roads, our water bodies, in
Yeah.
terms of electricity, everywhere we really need more support. So, and we have huge funding gap in this area. So this is an aspect where, the African governments really need to think about it and see how, they could actually tap into Islamic finance avenues to support infrastructure development in Africa. So I just want to give a few examples of how these avenues have been used to tap into, those who are ready to invest in the Sukuk market. So if you
Okay.
consider the case of Malaysia, for instance, the East Klang Expressway, it was financed through Islamic finance. You
Wow.
see, so instead of taking funding, let's say from IMF, whereby you end up paying this debt, or you put your country in debt, like most of our African countries are doing, it's time our African governments open their eyes and look for alternatives to funding our development projects without relying on debt.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
so even though this sukuk funding is something like a debt, but this is backed by an asset. So,
Okay.
for instance, if it's a project, that project serves as the underlying asset for the sukuk, instead of
Mm.
just purely based on just funding, whereby there is no any backing,
Yeah.
right? Like we have, in the current conventional sense, what happens in our economy is that we have excessive leverage. Leverage here means, when you use borrowed funds, to increase the potential return of your investment. So when
Yeah.
you borrow funds, you use these funds to invest, let's say to earn more return. There is too much debt in the system. So for example, different countries borrow money, all of them, this is debt in the economy. So once they fail to be able to pay, it's going to be crisis, like what we witnessed in the 2008 2009 financial crisis.
Yeah.
So in order to avoid some of these kind of circumstances, what we need to do is to look for alternative funding sources for infrastructure in terms of sukuk, for instance, whereby we can be able to tap into the Middle Eastern countries, for instance, to be able to develop Africa.
Yeah.
All right. So this is one of the avenue through which we can actually develop the infrastructure in Africa.
Yeah. Interesting. We have this as a potential. We have Islamic finance as an alternative to the traditional kind of financing. But I want to ask, why is it not adopted? Why is African government kept on going back to the traditional places like IMF and all those kind of things and never look to explore this potential? Are there any reasons that we are not doing this?
All right. Okay. This is an important question you have asked. Okay. I think, one of the main challenges we face in Africa, especially in the case of Ghana, I know the scenario in Ghana.
Yeah, okay.
You know, one of the challenge we have is we have misconception about Islamic finance.
Mm.
When they hear the term Islamic finance, people draw the conclusion that, oh, this is only for Muslims. So they don't want anything like that to come to the country. And in fact, in my research, I found that some people even they say, oh, we don't want Boko Haram in Ghana. So they associate Islamic finance with Boko Haram. You see,
Wow.
and this same situation applies to the people at the top,
Mm.
because most of them are not Muslims, so they still have some kind of uncertainty. They are a bit skeptical that no, this kind of finance might discriminate against those who are not Muslims. But unfortunately, that is not the case. I always like to give the case of UK, for instance. In UK, they have used Islamic finance to finance a lot of projects, to fund a lot of projects in the country. So if we in Ghana, we follow the English law just like the UK, and we were colonized by the UK, and we copy most of our terms, even our education system, from them. So this is where we have to learn lesson that, okay, if they use Islamic finance, it's time we also try to, explore what Islamic finance is about and what it can do for the development of the country. So for example, in the case of Ghana, I just want to give some scenario of what has actually happened so far. There was a time that a particular Islamic finance institution wanted to start operation in Ghana. There was a bank from, I think, from Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
So the Bank of Ghana gave them some conditions they need to meet, and after that, they will be able to actually start operation in Ghana. So later on, we were following the news, and we heard that that particular finance institution was not able to meet all the requirements set by the bank, by the Central Bank of Ghana. So, and as a result, they were not able to start operation. That was in 2008.
Yeah.
So this was one of the scenarios we know of. But currently, as I'm speaking, what I know is that the Bank of Ghana has actually amended the Special Deposits Institutions Act to allow interest-free, banking, financial activities in the country. That was in 2016. They did this. But until now, we still do not have any financial institution in the country, Islamic financial institution in the country, because I think because of the misconception. Because we have a majority Muslims, non-Muslims, so all of them, any institution that wants to come to the country, they might be a bit, not certain if they will have more customers.
Yeah.
So this is the scenario we have in Ghana. So in fact, in my interview with many stakeholders in Ghana here during my research, most of them indicated that even though they agree with most of the principles of Islamic finance, but since Islamic finance is not in line with their faith, because they are not Muslims, as a result, they are not ready to invest in Islamic finance, because they said that it might lead to promoting, Islam in a way. So you see, this is the mentality we have, and the same thing happens back in Malaysia when I was trying to convince our ambassador then about Islamic finance. It was not easy. I had to go there many times and write different things to go and show to him, to read, to see what Islamic finance can actually do for the country. So it took some time before he was convinced. You see, then later on, we prepared proposals and everything, and invited some people from the country, from the Ministry of Finance, from the Bank of Ghana, and other institutions in Ghana here. And they came to Malaysia for a training on Islamic finance. But the initial stage wasn't easy. Why? Because of the thinking that they have about Islamic finance.
Yeah.
They are scared that it will promote some kind of Islamic, activities in the country or whatever, I don't know, or bring Christianity down or anything, that kind of mentality. So it took some time before we were even able to convince the government to allow the people to come for training on Islamic finance. So, finally they came for a training on Islamic finance in Malaysia. And in fact, Ghana was ready and was working towards, issuing sukuk to raise funding. But unfortunately, election came in 2016 and it was put on break so that after the election, they could, further the discussion on this area. But unfortunately, when the election came, there was a change of government. Then after that, everything had to change. Our system in Africa.
Yeah.
So this is one aspect of the challenge, the misconception. Okay.
Yeah.
Another aspect has to do with our system. Even though the Bank of Ghana has done something to support Islamic finance activities in the country, but we still do not have proper regulation in place. because Islamic finance to really survive very well or to be successful, we need strong government support, especially in terms of tax neutrality, so that it can motivate the stakeholders in the industry to really embark on this mode of finance. But we still do not have all those kind of things in place. And also, in our case in Ghana, for instance, we do not have most of the aspects needed in terms of Islamic law, for example, the Sharia scholars, because it's not just anyone who studies Islamic studies that can become a Sharia scholar.
Yeah, yeah,
From studying the Islamic studies, they need to understand the issues in finance and how the banks work to be able to give good decisions about what is going on. So
yeah,
we don't have that. That's another aspect we have a challenge.
yeah,
So you see, considering all these aspects, sometimes it scare potential Islamic
yeah.
finance institutions from coming to the country.
Mm,
But I want to assure uh, those out there that now the time has changed, and in fact, we do have our youngsters who are embarking on various projects, especially these crowdfunding platforms that we can use it. We can use them as a start, so that it doesn't necessarily have to be a normal bank as we know it, but we can start in various ways, like the
yeah,
Islamic microfinance,
mm,
or Islamic crowdfunding platforms, or Islamic crowd farming to
yeah,
tap into the agricultural sector in Africa. So this is
yeah,
another area that we can really tap in to start, despite the
yeah,
challenges that we have
yeah.
in Africa. Yes.
Wow, wow. This is really, really, really very educative and revealing what it is that is hampering the movement of Islamic finance into Africa. And I must say, some countries are a bit advanced more than where Ghana is. I know
Yes.
Nigeria is accepting Islamic finance at a speed that is faster than most of African countries. We know South Africa is also doing something to tap into the halal industry, especially supplying halal food to Southeast Asia. And the real challenge is the young entrepreneur. I mean, at the end
Yes.
of the day, do entrepreneurs have access, even beyond their country, beyond Africa, access to any Islamic finance somewhere they can tap into, or
Yeah.
individuals who are outside Africa can collaborate with those in Africa to form companies that really can start somewhere, as you said. So, what is it that we have to do in order to move this forward?
All right. Thank you so much. So, like I mentioned earlier, we don't have to just focus on the traditional way of banking to see that we have a physical banking institution in the country. We can start with various platforms like crowdfunding, or, for example, microfinance institutions, or even we have this WACF. So these are all avenues through which we can actually make a start. Or we can even start with something like what we have in Malaysia, in terms of Hajj. They can use we can have something like the pilgrimage Hajj fund. So this one is not just an ordinary fund for people to go for Hajj, but it also serves as an investment avenue. You see,
Yeah,
so these are means through which we can start to let our government see how Islamic finance can actually make an impact in the economy. So those areas are areas that we might not really need much government support to start.
yeah,
We can actually start them small. You see, so once you start it small, and gradually government can see what are some of the things you have been doing, we can approach them for a more proper regulations to regulate the industry in the country. So we don't have to be waiting. Yes. So we don't have to be waiting. We have to now start small and see what the progress will be in the future, inshallah.
Yeah, this is very, very good point, and this is a kind of conversation we don't want it to end.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, time is not always our friend. So this at this point, we would like to say few things. One, that Africa is well positioned to take off in terms of Islamic finance. We need to
Yeah.
explore collaboration. We need to explore partnership. We need to explore ways to even help individual entrepreneurs to take
Yes.
the drive, even if it is not at the national level, if it is not the government taking decision, but we can collaborate with individual entrepreneurs doing production, doing farming, doing processing, doing all these kind of areas, even fintech platforms that
Yeah.
really respect the Islamic rules and regulations. It is something we are calling on investors. You go down the road and you see those farmers who are feeding the country with food. Their conditions are not the best. There is poverty where there is potential to make more money. This is the situation on the ground. People are really, really suffering. And Islamic finance is something we can explore. Governments across Africa must wake up and know that times are changing and you don't continue to do things in the same way.
Yeah.
You need to explore ways and means to do things better. And if Islamic finance presents this huge potential, it's about time we overcome this misconception and welcome Islamic finance to really build our economies. And for the young entrepreneurs like myself, I said we keep striving, we keep doing the little we can as we explore ways and means to secure partnership from our brothers and sisters who have the wealth across the Middle East, across the Asian countries, across the world, who would like to test models. For example, there are companies in Malaysia that is doing so well within this halal economy, within this Islamic finance, that we can have partnership to bring down to Africa. There are countries in UK, companies in UK that we can explore to bring down. So we are inviting all potential investors to really help us move Africa forward. So we have 2 minutes, Dr. Abdul-Wahab. So I would like you to give our audience, our viewers and listeners, your last words. So we say salam to everybody.
All right. Thank you so much. So, in short, what I would like to say is Islamic finance as an avenue is not just for Muslims, it's for whole humanity.
Mm.
So we can tap into Islamic finance for agriculture, you know, for infrastructure.
I think we have a challenge.
Or even
Dr. Wahab,
try.
can you turn off your camera so that we can hear? We are having challenge hearing.
Of
Please, Dr. Wahab. Yes. I think we have lost Dr. Wahab. But in summary, what our noble guest was trying to say is that Islamic finance is not for only Muslims, and it is for all humanity. And African countries can really tap into this huge potential to develop their economies in terms of agriculture, infrastructure, and all aspects of the economy. Let's look at how we can secure partnership, funding from Islamic finance sources. And for those of us who are out there who really wants to tap into this potential, wasabih.com is a place, and you can reach out to any of us for us to advance these discussions. Thank you so much for making time with us. We say Salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. May Allah bless whatever every single entrepreneur out there is doing. May Allah put barakah in our struggles and our toils to make the world a better place. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. خطبة الكتاب.
بدأت ببسم الله في النظم أولا تبارك رحمانا رحيما وموئلا، وثنيت صلى الله ربي على الرضا محمد المهدى إلى الناس مرسلا، وعتراته ثم الصحابة ثم من تلاهم على الإحسان بالخير وبلا، وثلثت أن الحمد لله دائما وما ليس مبدوءا به أجذام العلا، وبعد فحبل الله فينا فجاهد به حبل العدا، إذ ليس يخلق جدة جديدا مواليه على الجد مقبلا، وقارئه المرضي قرى مثاله كالتراب.